people think boundaries create conflict, but the truth is, unclear boundaries create far more conflict than clear ones ever will. Today I want to show you how to reset your boundaries in a way that protects your energy without creating unnecessary tension. Now there's a moment in every season of growth when you realize your boundaries need to shift. Not because you're angry and not because someone crossed the line, but because you've changed and your boundaries need to reflect the person you're becoming. Now most people wait until they're exhausted, resentful, or overwhelmed before they adjust their boundaries. But boundaries don't have to be reactive. They can be proactive, gentle, and clear. They can be rooted in self-respect instead of frustration. So today I want to walk you through how to reset your boundaries without creating conflict and without abandoning your own clarity. Now here's the first truth. Boundaries are not walls. A boundary is not a punishment. It's not a withdrawal and it's not a rejection. A boundary is simply a clarity statement. This is what I can offer. This is what I can't. This is what keeps me grounded. This is what pulls me off center. When you see boundaries as clarity instead of confrontation, everything softens. You stop bracing. You stop rehearsing. You stop fearing the reaction. You simply tell the truth, gently, calmly, and without apology. The second truth, conflict comes from confusion, not clarity. Most conflict around boundaries doesn't come from the boundary itself. It comes from the surprise of the boundary. People react when the boundary is new, or the boundary is inconsistent, or the boundary is delivered in frustration, or the boundary contradicts your past patterns, or when the boundary feels sudden or unexplained. This is why resetting boundaries requires consistency and not intensity. Now, you don't need to be forceful. You need to be clear. You don't need to justify. You need to be steady. You don't need to convince. You need to be aligned. And here's the first shift. Name what's no longer sustainable. Before you reset a boundary, you identify the pattern that's draining you. Ask yourself, where am I overfunctioning? Where am I saying yes out of habit? Where am I carrying more than my share? And where am I shrinking to avoid tension? Where am I abandoning myself to keep the peace? This is the emotional fog that boundaries clear. Now you're not creating distance, you're creating alignment. And here's the second shift. Communicate early. Communicate gently and without urgency. A boundary delivered early is a boundary delivered calmly. You don't wait until you're overwhelmed, and you don't wait until you're irritated. You don't wait until you're depleted, because you need to speak from groundedness, not exhaustion. This is how it sounds. I'm realizing I need to slow down a bit. I won't be able to take that on right now. I'm shifting how I handle this moving forward. I need a little more space around this. Short, clear, and steady. No emotional charge. This is how you reset a boundary without creating conflict. You remove the urgency. And here's the third shift. Hold the boundary without performing the boundary. You don't need to over-explain, defend, justify, apologize. You don't need to negotiate or convince. You simply hold the boundary with quiet consistency. People trust boundaries that are calm and predictable, steady and non-reactive, and emotionally neutral. When you hold a boundary without performing it, the other person adjusts more quickly because they're responding to your clarity, not your intensity. And here's the fourth shift. Expect temporary discomfort, not conflict. When you reset a boundary, the other person isn't reacting to you. They're reacting to the change. And change always creates a moment of recalibration. That moment is not conflict, it's adjustment. If you stay calm, the discomfort passes. If you stay consistent, the dynamic stabilizes. If you stay grounded, the relationship becomes healthier. Boundaries don't damage relationships. Unspoken resentment does. And here's the final truth. Boundaries are an act of self-respect. When you reset a boundary, you're not pushing someone away. You're pulling yourself back into alignment. You're saying, my energy matters, my clarity matters, my emotional bandwidth matters, my well-being matters. And when you honor your own boundaries, you teach others how to honor them too. Now, boundaries don't have to be harsh. They don't have to be dramatic. They don't have to create conflict. They can be gentle and they can be steady. They can be rooted in self-respect. Now, today you've learned how to reset your boundaries. You reset your boundaries in a way that protects your energy without creating unnecessary tension. Now, this completes your relational clarity arc and opens the door to identity renewal. Now, you take care and stay connected.